we empower ourselves to be able to recognize that fear is not our enemy, right? That fear actually is our greatest teacher. And getting ourselves in that uncomfortable, that's where we can start breaking the chain.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Brotherhood of Fatherhood. And I have with me today an awesome guy who I met a while back, and it's taken us a while to connect, but I'm really excited that we are recording today. His name is Joel Cochran. He's the owner of Proclivity. He's a life coach, and he has a lot of experience in this area. He has experience in health and fitness as a coach, as well as his life coach business. Before we get to that, I want to just put a quick shout out about our event coming up in September. That's September of 2022. It's over the 9/11 weekend. It's going to be in Montana. It's called the Big Event Montana. This is something I need men to put on their calendar and make sure you get to. We're going to be doing some tactical and strategic shooting practice. We're going to be doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We're going to be eating a lot of really amazing man food. We have a chef coming with us, an actual fitness chef coming with us to cook. We're going to be doing a Memorial Day ruck. We're going to have ridiculously cool speakers, including Rob Wolf, Dr. Jason Piccolo, Angelo Cisco. It's going to be I think it's an old school saying, but it's going to be off the hook. So check out the Big Event Montana. The website is Brotherhood Fatherhood /events. It's that simple. There's no of in Brotherhood. So Brotherhood Fatherhood .com/events. Check that out. We're only selling 40 spots, and we're already selling them. And the only thing I've done is set it on the podcast. So make sure you go in, reserve your spot. We have payment options, but we want to see you there in September in the Kalispell area of Montana, which is beautiful. Welcome to the show, Joel.
I'm in. Sign me up. Dad, are you kidding me?
I know, right?
That's incredible tactical shooting. And I'm just like imagining like this like lodge and like whiskey and that big fireplace and like
right on a lake. We have a big old outdoor fire pit on a lake on a huge lawn. The speakers are going to be, some of them are going to be speaking right out there on the lake. It's fireside talks. Rob Wolf's going to share some entrepreneurial journey stuff. Jason Piccolo, if you don't know Dr. Jason Piccolo, he was the whistleblower during the Obama administration on some funny stuff going on the border. And so he's got a book. He's a federal agent right now. He's a doctor. He's goes on court TV every week. Like, this dude is legit, and he's going to come tell a story about, doing the hard right thing, and making decisions that aren't always easy and going with them. The dude has massive podcasts and shows, and it's awesome. And then, we've got the wizards like Angelo. Yeah. And I built it around what I wanted to do. I want to get better at shooting guns. And we have this guy that just got back from, I can't even think of the country that's at war. He's Ukraine. He was over in Ukraine training missionaries how to protect themselves. And that's what he does for a living. So he goes into other areas and he trains missionaries how to de-escalate. And then if they have to use, weapons or whatever, he trains them how to do that. That is his job. And he's going to set up a actual obstacle course for us. It's including all the gun rentals. So we'll have ARs and handguns, and he's going to it's like 5 hours of training. It's going to be so epic. And then we've got, if you know, obviously Rob Wolf and then Andy Stump, they're basically, huge guys in their fields, but we're going to their Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, and we're going to have different seminars based on, I've done none in my life. And then we have black belts coming. So we're going to have like half a day of that. Like, I built it around what I wanted to do. Right. So yeah, it's going to be a blast. And it's just going to be really good time. We got some incredible sponsors, but this isn't about my show. It's about dudes doing stuff. And, we're going to talk about your story, and kind of some relevant stuff that's gone on in your life. And I think it's going to really resonate with quite a few men who listen to this podcast. So tell us a little bit about Joel.
Well, I'm born and raised here in Reno, Nevada. And, what's interesting that I found out, and this has popped up a couple different times. Have you ever been to Nevada?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been to a Basque restaurant?
No.
Majority of people, even people who have lived here, have not been to a Basque restaurant. Now, Basque restaurants are only in Nevada, some in like Utah, a little bit in Idaho. And so it is very unique. People will come from like LA and it's like, oh, the food scene and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, have you had Basque food? The answer is no. And Basque food is family style. They sit you down, right, with other people, and they come over and they ask you what basically your one main that you want. Do you want steak? Do you want sweetbreads, which is the glands, right, of a lamb? Do you want lamb? And then they start bringing out all this food, French fries and baked beans and salad, and they bring out cold red wine, right? And they start setting it out in front of you, and you start getting to know the people to the left of you and the right of you, right? And they put you on this super long table, right? You can fit 15, 20 people on this table. And it's one of those experiences that if you're ever in Reno, Nevada, northeastern side of Nevada in Elko, or maybe Boise, some in Utah, seek out a Basque restaurant and go get the experience. And the reason I'm telling you that is just the uniqueness of that in Reno. I just had that experience with some guys that we went to a whiskey bar here in Midtown, and then I was asking them about Basque food, and they're like, "Nah, never had Basque food." And they've also never had a pecan. There's a drink specific, right, called a pecan, Picon, and that's also a drink that you're going to want to try if you go to a Basque restaurant. So, anyways, born and raised here in Reno, Nevada. I went to the University of Nevada, graduated with a speech communications degree and a minor in community health science. I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do with that? And then I ran into CrossFit and became a CrossFit coach, started a business putting on CrossFit competitions. That was back in the like 2011, 12, when CrossFit gyms were teeny. And so we ended up buying this massive rogue rig that we could assemble in front of people's gyms. And so we created this business, and then it got bigger and bigger, and we ended up putting the second largest payout in the country next to the Granite Games of a $35,000 payout. And that was looking all great and good until the numbers weren't making sense.
Yeah.
And that's when I pivoted, said, I'd see you later to my partners, said, you guys can take this. And I started a gym with two brothers here in Reno, Nevada, 15,000 square foot, massive CrossFit gym, super nice. And I helped manage that gym, and then open up a second facility about the same size. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit, that's when I pivoted and started my own business, went virtual. And from there, I went from more of the fitness side into the lifestyle side, because I kept seeing the same revolving door. I saw thousands and thousands of people come through the doors of Double Edge, because it's such a big facility. Yeah, I'd see the same result. And I'm like, wait a second, there's something here. So I pulled out my shovel and started digging deeper and deeper, and spent the next 2 years and $30,000 in paying a multitude of different coaches, including Angelo Cisco, to help me dive deeper into the issues that that men face, that women face when it comes to the identity that they create, and the identity that has been with them a little too long, that isn't serving them anymore. So now my main focus is being able to help hard charging CEOs, entrepreneurs, men specifically, let go of the old identity and move into the identity that they truly want.
I'm going to do a little plug here, and I'm sorry, everybody, but I just have to, because I've gone through the process that Joel coaches. And I know everybody has their own unique technique, but it was one of the key places for me to pivot and become more successful, like massively pivotal. And I know what you do. And I would say like the value of the type of coaching you do, people just don't get it. But then when they go through it, it's ridiculously incredible. And the only reason I know is because I interviewed a guy named Mark England, and then I kind of went through the process, and I didn't do it for any reason other than to understand it. I wasn't going to coach it. I wasn't going to, but the change it made in my own life, I talk to people about it all the time. So I'm so excited you do that.
Yeah.
Because really already I'm resonating with your story a lot.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people will. So you're doing this coaching, you're really transforming people from like reversing in their life and kind of bringing some things to light that definitely have maybe played a role in how they're playing out their own video of their life, but really they can rewrite that, and their trajectory changes massively, especially if it's someone already experiencing success. The amount of like the just trajectory from there is limitless.
Oh, completely limitless, and to be able to get these men, because they come to me because they're having external manifestations of internal trauma, right? Mm-hmm. Their blood pressure's up there, blood work's wacky, I'm just, so fat in my midsection, so on and so forth. Yet it always comes back to the identity. How are you identifying with yourself? What is the thing that you've been repping out your entire life? And is that because, your dad threw, and this is a true story, your dad threw a ball and you couldn't catch it, and he said, "You're fucking worthless." And that stuck with him. And he said, "Okay, you know what, Dad? I'll show you who's not worthless." And became this high charging CEO, crushing it. But he still has the same story in his head because he's repeated his entire life, "I'm worthless." And so he's chasing it, knowing that he gets the success of financial or respect. But then when it goes back to being at home, he doesn't know how to be that man for his kids. He doesn't know how to be that husband for his wife. And that's where we start shaking things up. They come to me because they're like, I got this mid, section fat. And I'm like, yeah, tell me how your relationship is with your wife. Your kids.
It's so amazing how those are so interlaced. And when I went through it, I had a great upbringing, like an amazing upbringing. And I know a lot of people don't relate with that. I've found that that's not normal, but there were experiences specifically for me in like middle school and elementary that I went back to, and I'm like, wow, the way that those have like inserted themselves into everything that has unfolded in my life. When I pulled back that curtain and was able to identify that and change my really kind of some identity based on that, and really kind of rework like that, and really like take some accountability for some things. And also, but man, it's like I was running. I was as an entrepreneur, my brain working, I was running, I was sprinting. I'm always sprinting, but it was like, oh, I don't have to sprint in mud. Like, whoa, are you kidding me? I can run on hard ground. And that's really what it's been like. It's like business has exploded. My personal relationships have exploded. My personal mind, the way that it works every single day, has been unleashed. And I can learn at such a higher trajectory of speed. I can take on new tasks and new challenges. Things hit me, and they kind of get me. I mean, I was struggling with some technological things here, right. But I mean, even the old Scott would have been like, I got to reschedule. I can't do this. But, even though I muddled through it, it's still, I know where I was at before I kind of did this stuff and where I'm at now. And it's ridiculous. I'm sure you see that with a lot of men that you coach.
Oh, massively. Massively. The curtain's taken away, right?
Right.
They realize that, wait a second, if they've been looking over here and then they just pivot just a little bit, because we know in maybe you don't, maybe you do, right? To the listeners, when we're talking military terms and we're talking a mill, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to launch a grenade, you're going to send off a missile. One mill extrapolated over a far distance could be a complete miss, right? I mean, complete miss.
Miles off, really.
Miles off,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And that's all it takes, really, when it comes to creating a better identity with ourselves, by being able to create better language, internal language, self dialogue with ourselves. It's just a shift, a little pivot, right? And then it's repetition. So I change the direction with just a little bit different words, right? Or language. And then I rep it out.
Mm-hmm.
And if I rep it out long enough, right? I point it in a direction, repeat it long enough, I get to a completely different destination. And that's how it sounds too simple, but simple and easy are not the same thing. And being able to do that repetition when you want to fall back to the identity that you had before is the difficult part.
Mm-hmm.
It's not brain busting, right? You don't need to do these like crazy deep, like journal work, even though those things can be good. It really comes down to, hey, when you miss the mark, what are you saying to yourself? Are you saying that you're the biggest piece of garbage? Or are you being able to go, hey, I still move forward. Mm-hmm. I'll let that go. I move forward.
So good. It's so good. I think a lot of people don't understand the power because they, quite frankly, probably don't spend any time thinking about it. And they need to be pigeonholed into like, you need to do this. You need to go through this process. You need someone to uncover, pull back the curtains a little bit. We're not talking about hoity-toity, weird woo-woo stuff.
Woo-woo stuff.
It's not woo-woo. I mean, I'd be the first one out the door. I'd be like, see, I'm not interested. It's not woo-woo. And that's probably the hardest thing to explain is like, you can make a ton of advancements, pulling that curtain back a little bit, and it's just not woo-woo. Yeah. So before we started, you were talking about something that you've been through recently. So I always love when somebody talks about helping others, kind of uncovering some of the things that they personally have gone through or are going through, because I think that really forms, how we can really serve other people is dealing with our own stuff. And you were talking about some relationship things with your mom. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of enlightenment over the last 2 years, specifically through the pandemic, but over a lifetime, right? Things don't happen just like that. It might feel like that when the moment comes, but it was many, many years of work and expansion and awareness to get to the point of there it is. And growing up, my lineage with my father, the men in my lineage, is very passive, not present. It's just what it was. My father, my grandfather, his grandfather, right? That lineage gets passed down. And at some point, there has to be somebody who comes and goes, no longer will that be the case. And growing up, my dad worked 2 jobs. He had an accounting business, and he also was a maitre d' at one of the casinos here. So maitre d' work starts at 4 p.m. when it's dinner time. Well, it doesn't get done until midnight, or he has his accounting job at 9 o'clock. So this guy's working 12 to 16 hours every day, right? And there would be times where I would be waiting as much as I could as a little kid to try to see my dad at midnight, but falling asleep, couldn't stay up. And the reason I bring that up is because I was raised mostly by my mom. Well, she has a broken relationship with her father. Her father left her mother when she was 4 years old with 3 other brothers. He just picked up and left. Just went to California. Bye. Started a whole new life. And her mother was now by herself and need to raise these boys. She got into a relationship that was abusive, alcohol. So then my mom saw abusive men, right? No present dad, abusive man, right? Could have very well been abusive to her in many different ways. And so here's this pattern that is being built. And that then leads to having two boys, right? And so if trauma hasn't been addressed, the lineage will continue to pass down. So my brother and I grew up with a dad that wasn't fully present and mostly passive, and my mom who had a lot of trauma and very defensive when it came to men, even her own children. And so it wasn't abnormal for us growing up to have verbal and physical abuse, where, hey, line up, right? I got hit with switches when I was young. Now it's your turn, right? Wooden paddles, when the wooden spoons would break, the metal ones would come out, right? And we didn't know any different. This is just, okay. So you just get hit, and the verbal side was always the worst, of not feeling enough. And growing up, moving that into my relationships, I then had a lot of issues with my romantic relationships. And that continued all the way until I found the girl of my dreams. This is it, right? She was a little bit older than me, had two kids, wonderful kids, recently divorced. I had been doing a lot of internal and self work. And so I came in going, I'm going to be the superhero here. She's got out of divorce, right? She needs a strong man, and I'm going to be that strong man. And so I swooped in and helped start raising these boys, and spend this time. And I'm like, man, this is it. This is it. This is the girl. So I'm already looking at rings, and get this custom ring, do this custom beautiful ring, and we end up looking at a house together, and we're going to buy this house. So we're set up, right? I got this vision. Okay. I know I can be the strong man, right? Regardless of what happened, what I saw from my dad and, what I got from my mom, I'm going to be different. And in 1 week, God went, oh, you think so, huh? And he just interjected in a way that only God can. And we had a full price offer on this house that had been on the market for 6 months, no offers, beautiful house, $760,000 home. At the time in Reno, that was the highest one on the block. Beautiful home. We're like, this is it. This is where we're going to raise our family. This is going to be amazing. The guy was a flipper. I flip. So it was a very easy conversation of like, hey, we get it. Let's just cut through the BS. We got this. So we had this offer in. This is lights out, knockout, full price offer. This is going to be easy. Let's just move on. I got the ring that's getting custom made, right? And the next week we're supposed to be going to Minnesota where her family was. So I'm like, we're going to get the house. She's going to have the ring. We're going to be with the family. It's going to be freaking amazing, right? All good. Saturday we get a call. They've rejected your offer. I'm sorry. They rejected our offer, a full price offer that they haven't. Nobody else is putting an offer on this house. They're losing money. I know he's losing money. What for? What? Oh, they want you to pay for the transfer taxes. That's $1,000, Scott, on a $760,000 home. Everybody's winning here. Weird. And we're tripping over $1,000, which made me immediately go, whoa, we're out. Nope. If somebody's tripping over 1,000, that makes me immediately question everything.
There's something else.
Yeah. What is going on here? I'm out. So that was like, wow, okay. Well, that was weird. All right. Maybe that's, not supposed to happen. Okay. That was Saturday. Tuesday, I'm supposed to get the ring, right? Wednesday, I was going to ask her to marry me. Thursday, we're flying off to Minnesota. I'm like, all right, so I got the ring. Tuesday, I'm ready to go get the ring. They call me early in the morning. Joel, this has never happened before, but one of the diamonds is not fitting into the ring. We have to scrap the whole thing. We have to start over because it's a custom ring. So it was custom cut out. And one of the teeny diamonds, not the big one, the teeny diamond wouldn't set. Just one little teeny one wouldn't set. And they're like, we have to scrap the whole thing. We're not going to have it ready for your engagement. Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll still go to Minnesota, because I had already talked to the dad and the mom a little bit about it, but I was gonna call them and be like, hey, I'm gonna do this tomorrow. Well, I'm not doing that tomorrow anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'll be able to talk to them face to face. All right, it's still finding the sunlight right here in the clouds. I go there, talk to the mom, talk to the dad, tell them about it, show them the mock-up of the ring, yada yada, get the full blessing from dad. Mom was a little weird about it, but still was good. We get back after a week in Minnesota. I get a phone call from my girlfriend's sister saying, mom is locked in her room and she's talking about suicide. You need to talk to her. I need to talk to her. What is going on right now? Finally, she answers my call. She acts like nothing's going on. Everything's fine. And she starts rattling on me. You guys aren't meant to be together. I just know it. You guys aren't meant to be together. You guys don't seem happy together. You boom, 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 question me and hammering me, and I'm like talking her through this. And then I get off and I'm like, what the heck? This is a 1 week's time. I went from, I see the vision, living in this house, here's the ring, going to the family, everybody being happy, to wait a second. And what this did is it caused a domino effect from there on out between my girlfriend and I at the time, where all this doubt started coming up and questions and this and that. And she started talking about, maybe we need to separate, spend some time away. And then we tried doing some couples therapy together. And then at the meantime, we're like trying to like balance the kids, right? Of like, well, you don't want to see me, but, should we still see the kids? And so we're trying to balance like seeing the kids, but we're not good, and being able to trying to balance that energy. And she eventually ended up buying that house. And that was a huge, like chaotic thing, because then my name wasn't on it. And it just unraveled to the point that we decided like, hey, we need to separate. So this was in 2019. 2020. And we're sitting there, we separate. A month goes by and I'm just like, no, this is my girl. I know there's been a bunch of signs, right, from God, just stop. But I'm just, right, I'm going to make this work. Talk about the hard charging, right? Yeah, hero syndrome, right? Like knight on shining armor. I'm going to make this work. So I drop off some flowers to her, leave a nice little note, right, saying, hey, you're worth it. Let's make this work. She calls me up and says, I received your flowers. It's important to you to know that I moved on. I'm done. And I'm like, whoa. She eventually, a week later, says, listen, I started seeing somebody. Like, I'm already seeing somebody. And it was the tree guy who came to cut a few branches off from the tree, who just randomly asked her out on a date. And they just went on a date together. And so I'm like, gee williker, God, how many more signs can you give me to tell me that this isn't going to work? So I went in a tough spiral. I mean, going from this is going to be this is the woman of my dreams. This is it. Here's the ring, everything else, to she's moved on, gone. And so this made me get a lot of internal reflection. And I'm sitting there going, how did I end up here? And I started going into a lot of internal work. I've done a lot of internal work before, and bring up Mark England, Tuesday Night Live. He does a thing, Tuesday Night Live. If you guys don't know Mark England, make sure to check him out. The Enlifted coaching method that they have is incredible. And he's sitting there with me, and I'm just wrecked. And I had recently connected the dots of the emotions that my girlfriend had and the emotions of my mom. I was seeking them both, these extreme emotions, right? She could be very extreme, my girlfriend, and my mom was very extreme, right? So I'm talking to Mark, and I'm like, and this is usual in relationships, guys. We tend to project, they, them, it's their fault. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was saying my mom and the way that she raised me, and the physical and the mental abuse. And, she just has such extreme emotions. This is what I'm telling Mark live. There's like 50 other people watching me. And he says, write that down. My mom has extreme emotions. Okay. Yeah. All right. Affirming that. Yeah. She does have extreme emotions. He says, good. All right. I want you to take out mom and put my extreme emotions. That hit me like a ton of bricks across my face. Because for the first time in my life, I stepped back and went, oh, my extreme emotions. I'm emotional. I'm a man who has extreme emotions. I didn't know. My dad didn't show me that. I didn't have any other man in my life to be able to show me, hey, to have emotions and to allow those emotions to come, to honor those emotions is something that we all should be able to do. So for the first time in my life, I went, whoa. And to tie in Angelo, we're talking about Angelo. I was going through the Alpha Hippie program at the same time. So a lot of reflection going on in there. So I then sat down and realized the only change that's going to happen for me and my future wife and my future kids is healing the relationship that I have with my inner child and my mom. And so I sat down and I took 3 weeks to write this letter to my mom. And I set up a date and a time with my parents, both my mom and dad, and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you on this date. I'd like to sit down with you. And I wrote up this letter, and I read out that letter multiple times. I turned on my camera. I read that letter while recording myself so I could see myself. So I knew when to stop, pause, look at my mom, look at my dad, and continue with reading the letter. And that letter was a love letter to my mom. It also was a moment to be able to stand up for my inner child and to myself by saying, these are the things that I will no longer accept. And the 3 things, it was it, 3 things. 1, I will no longer accept physical abuse of myself, my children, or my wife, period. 2, I will not accept verbal abuse for myself, for my children, or for my wife. And the final, which I'm sure many men will resonate here. I will no longer engage in politics with you. You are more than welcome to bring it up, but I will not engage. Boom, that's it. And the main theme of the entire letter to my mom was, this letter is about healing a relationship with my mother and father. And I kept repeating it. When she got defensive, when she went, Mom, the main reason of this letter is to heal my relationship with you and Dad, and to have an incredible, deep relationship. And that was a pivotal point for myself in recognizing I could stand up to myself, and a complete shift with my mom, because now I had that letter that I was able to leave with my mom. You can read through this. This is yours. And I highly suggest for any man out there that when you are in a situation like that, to write out a letter, because people don't interrupt you when you're reading a letter. If it's open form, oh, this is debatable, right?
Right.
Your mom or your father, or your brother, whoever can be like, no, hold on. But when you're literally reading something, she didn't interrupt me a single time. When she's usually the one to come in and be like, nope, that's not right. Nope, that's stupid, right? But I was reading a letter, and you get to leave it with them. Go ahead and read it back over. You have my words and my heart on this piece of paper. You can do what you want with it. You throw it away. You can keep it. Either or, have it. And that was a huge pivot point for me in my life. And my relationship with my mom and my dad has never been better. And there's been times I've had to come back to those 3 foundational laws that I laid down, where my mom will literally start talking about politics. I mean, get her started on COVID. I mean, talk about 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. And I would just listen to her. And there was times, Scott, where I would sit on the phone for 2 minutes, dead silence. And I would wait for her to change the subject. And she would.
So powerful.
They moved hard and powerful, because I said what I was going to do. You could bring up politics. I'm not going to engage. Okay. That was my promise to myself. So go ahead. You can talk about it. You're not going to get one peep out of me.
The amount of strength that you gained probably through this experience for yourself, like, it's not about strength over people. It's a strength on how you are responding and how you're going to interpret, internalize, externalize all of these events and things. How is it affected your other parts of your life since going through this?
It completely shifted. I went from a victim mindset of in relationships, right? Even in my relationship with my ex-girlfriend, of going, you and this, and where I was able to go internal. I was able to reflect, which helped me massively in a relationship that came after, where she wasn't ready to get into a relationship. And I knew, not at one point did I point the finger at her. I just went, okay, then I make the decision. See ya. Right. And I walked right out. Where before I would think that I need to figure it out, or I needed to, I need to coach her through it. Yet the very first thing I said when we started dating was, I'm not your coach. I'm not your therapist, and I'm not your savior. You have the strength within you to be all of those things. And if you can't find that strength within you, go find it with someone else, because the relationship that we are going to have is going to be of friendship, of love, of companionship, those things. And that was me, again, being able to stand up to myself, which is a big difference between standing up for myself. To myself is being able to say, you stand strong with yourself. You don't upset me. I upset me. You don't let me down. I let me down. So I will remove myself from this situation and stand up and steady my walk. And that's exactly what I did in this past relationship, which has taught me so much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. I mean, there's so many lessons to unwrap in that experience. I can't even think of, like, I would doubt that there is a person in the world who doesn't need to do something similar. And you and I both know, and I've tried to explain this to people, but it's really hard until you actually walk them through it. But the power of actually writing some things down, and not writing them down yourself. Like you need to write them down, but you need to have somebody that's trained to do what Mark did with you.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to me. He said, omit this word. I'm like, and read it out loud. And I read it out loud. I'm like, and then he goes, let's change it one more. Omit this word. And it was literally, you had one word omission. It took me 2 or 3. And it was like, oh, mind blown. And it's that simple, but it's not easy. I mean, it's
right.
Yeah. And that technique, that process, I still talk to people in my life who I know are still struggling. I'm like, I just wish you would do this. I just wish you would go through this process, because it's like, it's literally releasing change. And some of the things you talked about, these are like familial, like, chains of, that you're breaking what I would call curses, like family curses, family legacies passed down and down and down. And this is something I'm really passionate about for men. Yeah. It's like, just you put your foot down and do what you need to do, but you're not gonna be able to do it alone. Typically you need help, but put your foot down, do what you need to do to break those chains. Stop making excuses, because even when we don't think we're making excuses, that story in our head is just lies and a tangle of things that are leading us continually down the wrong road. And guess what? You're just going to continue that chain, that legacy of, blame, or that legacy of fighting, or that legacy of cutting each other down, or whatever it is. We want to leave good legacies. There's bad legacies too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. It being able to recognize when you're in the trauma loop, right? I call it the trauma loop. You can call it whatever, patterns, whatever the case is. We tend to like, hey, my dad, was abusive to me. I'm never going to hit my kids. You're still staying in the same loop, right? It's a reactive on the opposite side. Now it's a good thing, right? Don't hit your kids. Yet when it comes to trauma loops, like, there has to be this moment of really uncomfortableness. And a lot of the times we don't want to face that. We don't want to recognize that fear, doubt, insecurity, anxiety, depression, those are our friends too, because they're our greatest teachers. We want to push them away. And when you push something, you create pressure, right? When you pull something, you bring it closer. And being able to recognize that when I need to break a chain, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yet I'm going to invite fear in, right? I want to sit long enough with fear that I know its name. And I can put my arm around its shoulder and go, hey, you belong here too. And when we do that and we empower ourselves to be able to recognize that fear is not our enemy, right? That fear actually is our greatest teacher. And getting ourselves in that uncomfortable, that's where we can start breaking the chain.
Yeah.
Yet we want to stay in that loop and just make a teeny little change, right? You got to do a teeny little change and, oh, that feels so much better. But then you come back down to the bottom of that loop where you're like, oh, damn, here I am again with my relationship, with my work, with my body, with my diet. Oh, wow, I'll make this one little change again. Okay, that didn't work, but I'll do this. And then you start feeling just a little bit better. And then you get to the top of the loop and you're like, yes, see? And then, oh, wait a second, I'm still in a loop, because that's what a loop does. It goes round and round and round. And until we're really willing to interject, cut that loop, take in the constriction, feel the tension, have a coach or somebody there to walk us through that, then we can find the true expansion.
Well, and I mean, there's yes, 100% yes. And you mentioned it. this is actually the answer to your physical health. This is the answer to your mental health, your emotional health, your relational health, your financial health. Like, this is the key. It is the key. It takes some work and it takes help, but it is literally the key. People are like, no. I just need to eat. I'm like, no, you need to, there is so much more than eating right. There is things between this area right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is 100% controlling this cycle that you're in. And yes, you made this one little change. That's great. But you were right. They're still in that loop. Yeah. And it's just, I've seen it in my own life, and I'm 48. I mean, I've seen it, and it's taken me many years to identify. And it's still with intentional daily practice, those loops still come back, and it's never ending. And everybody who's ever listened to me knows that I am a massive fan of the whole bison story. They run into the storm because they face it head on, and they're going to run straight through it. It's going to pelt them. It's going to suck. But on the other side of that is clear skies.
Yes.
But what do? We kind of like run with it like a cow. And we're like running with it, like, oh my gosh, here it comes. And then we stay in it for so long, and we might change our trajectory a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit to the right. Yeah. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, but we keep doing the same thing, and we're just pelted, and we're just living in this cycle of storms. That's when the path to freedom is, it's time to fiercely face and dive into your fears and your anxieties and all these things that you're talking about. So it's been all the difference in the world. So
love it.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It's incredible. I think, man, if somebody doesn't relate to even just like one snippet of that, they're numb.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man.
Right?
Yeah, that's hitting it all.
Yeah, it really is. Relationships with parents, relationships with people. I mean, you went into the thing about the mother, and the way I immediately, when you're talking about how she was locked herself in the room, I immediately went into, oh, she's controlling. She's got her own psychological, emotional, mental issues. And I went into the blame game too. And is it the truth? Yeah, probably.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, it's that, I think the best way to look at these things is these circumstances aren't happening to me. They're happening for me.
That's right.
Yeah. But that takes a lot of work to figure that one out.
And that was my greatest teacher of that entire thing. And, I work with people. I work with a lot of hard chargers. And one of the greatest things I can get anybody to is awareness, right? Because truly, life is the greatest teacher. We need to go live it. And if we're aware of what's happening, we're going to learn real quick. Because most guys I talk to, I go, yeah, you see this to this? Oh yeah, no, I got it. I've seen that. Okay. So let's ask a few more questions, and we're going to dig, because you only want to stay up here, but we're going to dig just a couple more, just two more whys. And we get down to, oh, wow. Yeah, I need to quit my job today. Yeah. Yes, you do. Right. And bringing awareness, because again, when we're hard charging, we got what's in front of us. Boom. What's next? Take time to slow down and take a 45-minute walk with nothing, no phone, no dogs, no kids, no wife, just you. Right. I ask a lot of the times, hey, if I asked you to sit down, eat your meal for 30 minutes with nothing around, no television, no laptop, no phone, how does that make you feel right out the gate? 9 times out of 10, anxious. What? No. Why would I do that? Right? We're not giving ourselves the space to be able to find awareness.
It's so beautiful. I mean, that was part of my growth. Like, I do a walk. I do a very, very, I do a gratitude walk. And I have time with God every morning. It's 45 minutes, no technology. My dog is with me. My dog is an off leash dog. So he's just out doing his thing. I don't even have to pay attention. But I had this habit for quite a while of doing that same walk by myself, no technology, no dog, no nothing, no interruptions. And the things that happen in your mind are earth shattering. They are the answer to moving forward. Stillness and quietness cannot be your enemy. It is your best friend. And I will do these things intentionally to get away from everything. And it's uncomfortable, but it takes practice. And if I would recommend anybody who's struggling with it, get a coach, but also just read The Comfort Crisis, great book. The ebook or the audio version's awesome. He talks a lot about just living in silence through a story of his own, which is really unique and fun. And it deals with a lot of these things, but not at this level. And to get it at this level, you've got to have somebody who can guide you through it. Speaking of hard things, you're like an ultra marathoner. You do fasting.
Yeah.
You you do things with simplicity. I just did a TikTok today. I posted me doing pull-ups, ring dips, and push-ups. I'm like, you don't have to be extreme with your workout. Just do it.
Yeah.
Do hard things and embrace them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, repetition is the mother of all skill, right? And a lot of us struggle with the consistency. Like, I dare a lot of guys out there go, cool, come work with me for 1 month. Do what I do for 1 month.
Life-changing.
Consistency, just the consistency. I do 30-minute workouts, right? I went from hardcore CrossFit, slamming, crushing my body to, wait a second, 30-minute workouts. Wait a second, it's actually my food. Wait a second, fasting, and the more that I focused on the other aspects, the better my body responded. And then I just got to the point of testing my body more and more. I'm like, wait a second, what if I did 34 miles in ketosis? All these runners like, you can't do that. You're going to die. It's irresponsible. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, watch me. Right? 34 miles in ketosis. Right? I do 3-day fast quite often. And I had a CrossFitter go, see, I can't do fast because it'll totally ruin my performance, my power. Oh, really? At the end of my 3-day fast, I went over, loaded the bar up with 405, deadlifted 405 off the bar. Hadn't touched a bar in almost 2 years.
It's insane. I have a very similar process. I have quite the morning routine, but the end of it is 30 minutes in my gym. And it's literally dumbbells. I'll do a kettlebell day, do like kettlebell imams or kettlebell Tabata. I keep it so simple.
Yes.
But I jumped up and I do pull-ups every day, but it's the consistency. It's the just doing these things I do it 4 to 5 days a week, usually 6, in the gym for 30 minutes, guys. 30, it's not 3 hours. So you just keep it easy. And then once that was good, I'm like, okay, I'm still not losing weight. And I'm doing a 45-minute walk. I'm doing 30 minutes in the gym. I do long walks with my wife on the weekend. I do rucks. I go mountain biking. Like, what's going on? Then I applied that exact same mentality to food. And then I applied that exact same mentality to no sugar. Then I just said, okay, wait, my body, I feel good with a lot of meat and very little other things. I'll eat some veggies and cheese. I live on meat, cheese, and some veggies.
Yes.
And I'm monitoring everything and everything is coming, but it's just the consistency. It doesn't have to be complicated. And don't listen to other people's BS. Find what works for you and just freaking do it.
That's it.
Stop jumping to, if you don't want to do keto, do it for a month and do it right. Yep. If you don't feel good, there's a problem. If you want to do fasting, try it. Everybody's body's different. That's Find right. what works and just freaking put away the excuses and do it. Yes.
Well, and to your point, Scott, like, yes, go do it. And then just go, hey, what if I just keep going? What if I just keep going? Instead of like, I need to change all these things all the time because I got to look for the newest thing, right? We get so much information overload. It's like, no. It's actually quite simple. It is quite simple, yet are you giving yourself the space to apply the consistency of XYZ?
Joel, I think people need to hear about how to get a hold of you. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I know you do a podcast, you're a coach. I know it's Proclivity. Proclivity.co is the website they can find.
Correct.
Guys, you will find all his stuff in the show notes, like always. But like give us a little rundown.
Yeah,
and then,
totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So Proclivity.co is my business. I have an incredible partner. Her name's Emily Rodella. She is lights out the best nutrition coach there is on the planet. I don't say that lightly. She is incredibly passionate about what she does because she went through the freaking ringer. When all the other doctors were saying, you have an autoimmune disease and you need to take all these drugs, she said, psych, I'm going to heal myself through food. And she did so. And again, like I said earlier in the show, life is your greatest teacher, go live it. And she did so. And through that, she learned an incredible amount of information. And her and I came together to create a business unlike any other nutrition program out there. We combined all the stuff I was talking about in terms of life coaching, language, identity work with simple, habitual, nutritional, and digestive habits to be able to create something that sticks. Because guys, listen, you don't change the identity. Whatever you put on it is not going to stick.
Right.
You're going to eventually fall back to the same identity before. Do whatever program you want. But if the identity doesn't change, you don't believe, you actually go, I'm not the fat kid in the candy store. I'm this. Then nothing's going to change. And so we create this program. It's a 12-week program. We do it as a group. Head to our page, proclivity.co. You'll see a ton of testimonials, videos of people going, man, this changed my life. Not just, okay, I'm eating better, but I started my business for the first time in 25 years. I always wanted to start a business. I started my business. Mm-hmm. I've had a terrible relationship with my husband for X amount of time. And now all of a sudden our relationship is better. Health and wellness includes all of the things. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do. We incorporate that into Proclivity. And I couldn't be happier. I'm so blessed by God to have the opportunity to be able to help people every day. And it is a passion of mine. And we would love to hear from you. If you ever have any questions, check us out, proclivity.co. Check out our podcast. We give all of our secrets away on our podcast. We hold nothing back.
That's my favorite part. That's amazing. And I'm encouraging people just like go check it out. I think the testimonials are the way. Those aren't fabricated. You can't fabricate, that kind of stuff. So it's such a powerful tool to understand what somebody's offering. So go check out those testimonials. Joel, thank you so much for being a guest.
Scott, thanks. Appreciate you.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, listening to this amazing story that Joel told us. And just go to brotherhoodfatherhood.com/events. Get in that trip before it sells out. There is 6 months, 0 interest financing on there. So that should not be an issue. And we can't wait to see you. We're just going to spend time. We're going to learn, we're going to love, we're going to challenge. And, maybe Joel will be there. So
you're speaking my language, man. Guns, meat, and the outdoors. Come on.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again. And everybody have an amazing day, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast, because that helps everything.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, your family, and follow us on social media. If you are a father, make sure you join our Facebook group, the Brotherhood of Fatherhood. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more podcasts from the Brotherhood of Fatherhood.